This is Dr. K. Jagannayaki, Professor MBA Department, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal. So today I would like to discuss with you all about Likert scale. So Likert scale is a unidimensional scale and which is used to understand the attitudes of the people, how do they behave in different situations. So Likert scale, it is used to allow an individual to express how they agree or disagree with a particular statement. So it discusses about the people's opinion related to a particular statement, and it is like a question. It can be expressed from agreement to disagreement. So it consists of 5-point Likert scale, and some people they will use 7-point scale. The choices, whatever, ranges from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So on a scale, we can have 5-point Likert scale. We used to have 5 options or 5 choices to the respondent: strongly, disagree, agree, neither agree nor disagree, agree, strongly agree. So like this, we used to have different options on a 5-point scale. In the same way, even in case of 7-point scale also, the researcher can get a holistic view of people's opinions. If you want to understand the opinions of the people, then it is the best scale which is used to measure the attitudes just by incorporating Likert scale. So these scales include a midpoint. So midpoint like neither agree nor disagree, which divides the entire statement into two equal halves. So the midpoint consists of neither agree nor disagree, and it is developed in 1932 by a social psychologist Renin Likert. So with his name, this particular scale came into existence. The essential aspect of a market research is that if you want to understand the consumer satisfaction, then that can be measured with the help of Likert scale. And researchers, if they want to understand the ability to measure the respondent's opinion towards a brand, a feature, product, service, and any other kind of related features about a particular product or service, that can be measurable with the help of Likert scale. So measuring opinions, it helps the measure the level of changes required. So why we have to measure the attitudes or behaviors of the people? So the thing is that what will be the change, whether the change is positive or negative. If it is positive, up to what extent, and if it is negative, what will be the degree of the change, and how can we rectify those changes in the organization. So that can be helpful to the researcher using Likert scale. So a quantitative data collection tool in the research process like Likert scale, it allows the research teams to understand the respondents' sentiments. So people, they used to have different kinds of sentiments. So basing on that, we used to behave in different situations. So quantifying a like or dislike, that helps in making decisions on time, and also we can able to identify the changes, and this helps what kind of data we have to collect and how to manage the entire process, and how can they categorize the research teams, and everything decided by the researcher. Coming to the definition of Likert scale, like Thurston scale, Gutman scale, Likert scale is also a unidimensional scale. Researchers use this particularly to collect respondents' attitudes and opinions. It is a psychometric scale which is used to know the views and perspectives of the people towards a brand, product, or a target market. So it was established by René Likert, and he identified there is a distinction between a scale that materializes from a collection of responses to a group of items. So these responses measured in a range of values. So these responses may be 8 or more than 8. Coming to the example of a Likert scale, if a researcher uses a Likert scale question as a dichotomous option to collect product feedback, so the respondent may ask the product was a good purchase or not, whether would you like to agree with this statement or not. So few people they will agree and few they will disagree. The other way to frame this question is please state your satisfaction level with the product. So whenever we are asking about the satisfaction level instead of dichotomous option like yes or no type of questions, when we are asking about the satisfaction of the customer, then we have to give the Likert scale, 5-point Likert scale, because satisfaction is an attribute which cannot be quantifiable. Okay, so in a 5-point Likert scale, people will have different choices. The midpoint, it tells us neither agree nor disagree. So this is a neutral option. So on the left side of this neutral option, we used to have dissatisfaction level, and right side it will be measurable in terms of satisfaction, highly satisfied. So the first one is highly dissatisfied, dissatisfied, then satisfied, highly satisfied. So when you are giving any number on this Likert scale, so if a person has given the score of 4, it means that he was satisfied with the product. If a person mentioned 1, highly dissatisfied, that's how we used to read the scores on Likert scale. When responding to an item on Likert scale, the user responds based explicitly on their agreement or disagreement level. So this type of scale, it gives us only about the opinion of people towards a particular product or brand. These scales allow for determining the level of agreement, disagreement of the respondents. So it assumes that the strength and intensity of the experience are linear. So whenever we are talking about the strength and intensity of the experience, both will go parallelly. They establish a linear relationship between the strength and intensity of the experience. Both are linear. So it goes from a complete agreement to a complete disagreement, assuming that attitudes can be measured. Then how can we show this? So either you can specify disagree to agree or positive or negative. So everywhere if you see in a Likert scale, especially when you are talking about 5-point, we'll have two types of attitude measurements, positive, negative. And coming to the types of Likert scale has become a favorite among researchers to collect opinions about customer satisfaction or employee experience. So wherever you want to measure the satisfaction level, or if you would like to measure the experience, what kind of experience the employees have in their own organization, so that kind of things can be measurable with the help of Likert scale. So basically, there are two types of scales. One is even Likert scale, another one is odd Likert scale. So the difference between even and odd that can be identified the number of choices given in a Likert scale. So coming to even Likert scale, generally this type of Likert scale used to collect the extreme feedback without providing a neutral option. So out of 5, just we are including only 4. There is no neutral option. So let us take strongly agree, strongly agree, strongly disagree, disagree. There is no neutral option provided in even Likert scale. So out of 4, the respondent has to select only 1. And these even Likert scales further classified into 4-point and 8-point Likert scale. Where exactly you are going to use this 4-point Likert scale? This allows researcher to include 4 extreme options without a neutral choice, whatever just we have discussed. Then coming to 8-point likelihood of recommendation. So in this scale, 8 options will be given to the respondent to collect feedback about the likelihood of recommendation. So how strongly you recommend a particular aspect. So on 8-point scale, we used to assign some numbers. So each and every number on a scale, it will have some importance. Then coming to odd Likert scale, researchers use the odd Likert scale to give the respondents the choice of responding neutrally. So again, odd Likert scales can be further divided into 5-point, 7-point and 9-point Likert scale. So coming to 5-point Likert scale, researchers use this to gather information about a topic which includes a neutral answer options. For respondent to select if they don't want to say any answer, if they doesn't want to select from the extreme choices in the research design, then people will go for neutral option. And whereas coming to 7-point Likert scale, the 7-point Likert scale adds 2 more answer options at extreme ends of a 5-point Likert scale question. In case of 9-point Likert scale, it is quite uncommon. Very rarely people they used to go with 9-point Likert scale, and especially whenever people want to give some opinion about some kind of recommendations, they're going to use 9-point Likert scale. So Likert scale examples, the first one is if you want to have agreement, then how do we set the scale? Strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Coming to the frequency, if you are going to deal with the frequency, very frequently, frequently, occasionally, rarely, never. So that kind of options we used to give in the Likert scale example. And when you are talking about importance, extremely important, very important, moderately important, slightly important, not at all important. So when you want to know about the interest of the people towards a particular topic, then we used to categorize the Likert scale as very interested, neutral, somewhat uninterested, very uninterested. Then coming to the characteristics of Likert scale, the first one is related answers. So people will have the options given to them So out of those options only, they need to select one. So easily related to the sentences answers, regardless of whether the relationship between item and sentence is evident. Everything is readily available. Just the people has to choose among the available options. And second is scale type. The item must always have two extreme positions. Those two extreme positions, one is positive, another one is negative. Strongly agree, strongly disagree. These 2 points are known as two extreme positions. And third one is number of answer options. So most common Likert scale is 5 items, but as already we have a glance on even and odd type of Likert scales, there will be many options in between these two extreme positions: 4 point, 8 point, 5 point, 7 point, 9 point, and so on. So increasing the reliability of the scale, which is used to create a 7 point scale by adding vary to the top and bottom of the 5 point scales. And next one is using wide scales. As a general rule, Likert and others recommended that it be better to use scale as wide as possible, and that will be useful to the respondent so that we can have more options to the respondent. Next, lack of a neutral option. So even number of categories. So generally we used to have only four to eliminate the neutral possibility on a forced choice survey scale. If it is a forced choice, so you cannot go with 5 point. We used to give only 4 point to the respondents. So forcibly the respondent has to select one out of four options. And next one is intrinsic variable. Underlying is the interval level, how you are going to divide the entire scale into how many options or choices. So that has to be decided by the researcher what type of Likert scale has to incorporate in his research study. So it depends upon the type of research and the researcher's choice. And Likert scale data and analysis. So the Likert scale is a standard classification format for studies. So respondents provide their options about the quality of a product or a service from high to low or better to worse using 2, 4, 5, 7 levels. So the collected data grouped into a hierarchy of four fundamental measurement levels: nominal data, ordinal data, interval data, ratio data. So like that we have to classify what type of data it is. So the first data is nominal data in which answers classified into variables need not necessarily have quantitative data, or order is called nominal data. Only to identify or locate the things we are going to use the numbers, and that kind of data is known as nominal data. Then coming to ordinal data in which it is possible to sort or classify the answers, but it is impossible to measure the distance is called ordinal data. So as per the ordinal data, we can able to classify the answers, but we cannot measure the distance. That kind of data is known as ordinal data. The next type of data is interval data. So where we used to consider aggregate data in which measurement of orders and distances can be made, that type of data is known as interval data. So we used to assign certain range 10 to 20, 20 to 30 like that, so that we can able to measure the order as well as the distance between two class intervals. And next type of data is known as ratio data. So ratio data is also somewhat similar to interval data. The only difference between interval data and ratio data is an equal and definite ratio between each data and absolute zero being treated as a point of origin. So everything will be same. But coming to ratio data, we can able to have absolute zero, and that zero is the point of origin. So data analysis using nominal, interval and ratio data are transparent and straightforward. But whereas ordinal data analyzes the data particularly in regards to Likert or other scales in the surveys.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.